Hey guys, welcome back, or if you're new here, hi, I'm Shannon. I'm recently relocated to Chicago. I was in Korea for 7.5 years teaching, and I actually have a background in education, but I decided to make the switch to real estate, and I am now a licensed broker in the state of Illinois. For today's video, I just wanted to touch on how I got licensed here and what that looks like for anyone who's looking to switch career paths like I did. Of course, every state will be a little bit different. Make sure you check your state's regulations. Without further ado, I'm going to get into how I got licensed here as a broker. Let's start from the top, which would be the course itself. Quick background, I was in Seoul, and about 2 years ago is when I decided I would be pursuing a license in real estate, because I knew when I came back to the States, I did not want to be a teacher. Because I had about 2 years or more to get licensed, I could move very slowly through the course. It is 75 hours of coursework, which I did for maybe the span of just under a year. I decided to choose CE Shop as my course provider, really for no reason other than they had a sale at the time, and they're always offering sales. For example, right now it's, $275 down from $459. I went with the standard package that included the course material and then exam prep edge, which I definitely recommend getting if you're going with CE Shop. My biggest advice when doing the course is to not stress about taking notes throughout the entire thing. It's just information overload, and maybe take this with a grain of salt from what I've heard. The course does not prepare you at all for a regular day on the job. So just work on getting through it. Don't stress over the note-taking aspect of it. For CE Shop, it was just a lot of reading. There were some videos, some fill-in-the-blank exercises. It's broken up into 2 sections. So the first is 60 hours, and then once you complete that with the final exam, you move into a 15-hour interactive real estate principles course, but there was nothing interactive about it, to be honest. For Illinois, the CE Shop final exam is not proctored. I don't know about for other states. That leads into preparing for the actual exam. Originally, I thought that I wouldn't be taking it for a while. After my husband and I moved, I would sign up for a test in Chicago and go in person. But then I decided to double check. Wait a second. I knew after COVID, or because of COVID, there were proctored exams for a while. So I double checked that on PSI. Sure enough, there's still proctored exams available, which I didn't realize. And so I was like, you know what, screw it. I signed up for a time about 2 weeks later. When I signed up, there were lots of days and time slots available, even though it was Korea time. I was able to do 2 p.m. on a Sunday. I believe what I needed to do was upload my course certificates. So once you finish the course for Illinois, you get the 2 certificates, one for a 60-hour course, one for the 15-hour interactive one. So I uploaded both of those, and I selected my date, and I paid $58, and I was ready to take the test. So now, knowing that I had about 2 weeks to actually study and pass this thing, I kind of kicked into high drive. I decided to dedicate about 2 hours a day. And so I would just study whenever I had downtime. I was studying on the bus ride to work, on the bus ride from work, on the subway when I was going to meet friends. Before I went to sleep, I would do a couple multiple choice questions or listen to a video. I'm not the kind of person that does a sit down at a desk and hack out 2 hours straight. I can't do that. So I studied throughout the day in small parts, and that really worked well for me. Literally all I used to prepare for the broker's exam was the exam prep edge, which came with my course that I had already purchased, and D. Kumar's YouTube channel. When I went on Reddit and I was looking for advice on how to study, I didn't see his name come up once, but I just kind of happened upon his channel. He offered an ebook study guide, which was really convenient because it was only about 60 pages. He really breaks it down into easy to understand short sentences. Also, there was a practice exam as well. And his YouTube videos themselves are really helpful. I just put them on like it was a podcast. I would listen to it at work while I was getting ready for my classes. I also did his daily multiple choice questions. So if you go under posts, he does 1 a day, and I just would answer those. I actually really liked Exam Prep Edge as well because they break it down into sections. So I think there was 12 or 14 different sections with quizzes after each part. It lets you know where you need to focus on. And then I just would repeat those quizzes. For the national and the state portion, I think they say if you can pass with an 80% or higher 3 times on both of these practice tests, then you're ready to go. What I ended up doing is I would spend part of my day doing either the state test or the national test, or both if I had the time. I did those tests so frequently that the wording and the vocabulary began to stick with me, so I could answer questions way faster than before, and math became more fluid for me as well. If you are going with CE Shop or another online course that offers like a package deal with some kind of exam prep, do that one, do your exam prep, and look up D. Kumar. That's all I did personally, and it was apparently enough for me to pass. But let's get into the exam. This was a beast. Honestly, I don't think anything prepared me for what this exam would be like, because what I found my problem to be was that just the wording of the questions was completely different and way more confusing compared to the practice tests on my exam prep edge. I felt like they were almost trying to test my reading comprehension more than my actual knowledge, because I would spend up to like 2 minutes or more on one question trying to understand what they were even asking. I think that was the most challenging part, was not having an example test with the kind of wording that PSI does on their exam. The national portion of the test has, at least for the state of Illinois, there's 110 multiple choice questions, and state has 50 multiple choice questions. You're also allotted 4 hours to complete everything, and I thought it'd be done in like 2 hours. I think I finished in like 3.5 hours. Backtracking a little bit, when you are doing a proctored online exam, just to give you an idea of what it looks like, you're gonna have to show your ears, you're gonna have to show your wrists, you're gonna have to pick up your computer and do a 360 turn showing like your ceiling, your floor, your testing space. So my proctor was like, okay, I see that you are in a living room, kitchen area, so you're like not in a private room. Is there anyone that's going to be coming in and out during the test? Because if that happens, we need to stop your test. I asked my husband to take my dog out, and I felt so bad because he had to be out of the house for almost 4 hours. That's just something to keep in mind if you have a roommate or a partner. You either need to have like a private place to do it or ask them to go out for a while. My proctor also noticed that my doors were open, so they asked that I go and close all the doors, even though it was just me in the house. The last thing the proctor asked of me was to show my scrap paper, both front and back, and then we were ready to get started. You do need to download some specific software, and that's what will monitor you to make sure you're not cheating through other browsers. Unfortunately, it was a bit janky, but they do give you some practice questions to go through and some directions for how to use their software. There is a calculator. If you're doing online proctored exam, you can't bring your own. So they have an online one, and it was pretty trash, but luckily I didn't have to use it that many times. If you're ever confused or have a question, there's a chat on the side. You can quickly just send a message to your proctor. One thing I did before taking the exam was I went on Reddit to see other people's experience with online testing, and it was pretty bad, according to some. There were people who got shut out of their exam for looking off screen for too long, or for like leaning against their hand. Your proctor will give you a warning if you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. I guess maybe they did it too many times, or their proctor was really strict and they just kicked them right out of the test. So luckily I didn't receive any warnings, but because I read on Reddit, like, don't do this, don't look around too much, I was like literally just stick straight the entire exam, eyes on the computer as much as possible, and I didn't get any warnings. Something scary that did happen to me was I got to around question 80 on the national portion and everything shut down. I was shut out of the browser, and I got like a pop-up saying that there was something wrong with my Wi-Fi. All I had to do was log back in the way that I had logged in previously, and I immediately reached out to like a help chat line, and they got me logged back on with my original proctor, who asked me to do the full scan again. Then they were luckily able to get me right back to where I left off. If for some reason I had lost progress, I was ready to give up for the day because my brain was already just so burnt out from trying to understand these questions. But luckily that did not happen. So I completed my national portion, moved on to the state, and then I chatted to my proctor to double check how to submit everything so I didn't mess that up. They asked, do you have any other questions? I was pretty convinced I didn't pass. I felt like 50% of the time I was fine, but the other 50% it was just like a guessing game. I would get down to 2. Within an hour, I got something in my inbox, and I just read the caption was like, your results are in, and I was like, I can't look. I opened the email and I had passed both national and state portions, and I just felt complete relief. It is a hard test. Like, if you fail something, do not feel bad about it. Again, I just think it's the way that things are worded. They really want to trip you up. Something I found interesting was they don't show you percentages for each part. They just say pass or fail. I had about 2 weeks left in Korea at that point, so I focused everything on just moving and getting here. And then I started reaching out to teams. I am working with Downtown Apartment Collective under Compass. In future videos, I'll be leaving my information for anyone who wants to reach out to me. If you're moving to Chicago or within Chicago, I'd be really happy to help you find your new place. Also, if you're looking to become a licensed broker in Illinois or some other state, congratulations. I hope this video inspires you to do that. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.